Ladies and gentle gamers, welcome back to To Be Determined. Today we are going to be going over fishing bestiary, and this will be our second to last video on the topic at the moment. We do still have to go over dungeons and Kudra, so that will be in another video, but if you guys want to see that, smash the like button, smash the sub button, and let's jump into it. Before we get into the actual bestiary part, I do want to go over a few things that are really going to help out. Number one is to use Frozen Blaze armor. Frozen Blaze armor is super duper good. It doesn't actually have to be Frozen Blaze. You can use just regular Blaze. But if you're going for maxed bestiaries, you're going to need something to deal AoE, which a lot of people do use Witch Masks as well. That's a pretty good option. The bats do get you more bestiary than not using a Witch Mask, but it's not going to be as good as running a whole Blaze setup. So if you run a Blaze setup, that's going to help you out with bestiary. You won't level up as fast if you're not fishing 50. You won't get as much fishing XP unless you've got, insane rates with Frozen Blaze compared to whatever your other setup would be, but it's definitely worth it if you're going for maxing out the bestiary. Now, before we jump into all of these water bestiaries as well, I do want to preface this and say I'm not really going to go over these individual ones that don't have many requirements. If you go to Sea Creature Guide, a lot of these requirements on different sea creatures are just fishing level and fish in water, or fishing level and fish in lava. Those ones don't really matter too much. There's not too much strategy except fish with a party. Always make sure to either fish with a party or just be in a public lobby where a lot of people are fishing. So if there's an event going on, you don't really need a party. You can probably get a pretty good group together without even doing that. But if you're going for specific bestiaries, like let's say abyssal miners or something like that, you're probably not going to find a group to grind this out with. So getting a party for that is going to be ideal. Now let's start off by talking about the first sea creature with a requirement, which is Agaramu sea creatures. So Agaramu sea creatures require you to use a chum cap bucket. Chum cap buckets are made from empty chum buckets and agaricus chum cap, which is a material that you can get in the Rift. It requires agaricus cap level 4, which is 200 agaricus caps, and you can make 8 agaricus chum caps with 8 agaricus caps and a plumber's bucket. And then you can rift transfer those to the main world and use them around an empty chum bucket to make an empty chum cap bucket. And then when you place empty chum cap buckets, you will have a chance to catch Agaramus, which their bestiary is a bit of a grind. It is 4,000 Agaramus to max out. So again, having a group for this is going to be ideal. But one thing I will say is you don't really want to use these on special events that are like time sensitive. For example, spooky festivals or fishing festivals. Winter festivals, it could be argued for or against, but realistically, it's better to use the agaricus chum cap when you're going for abyssal miners, oasis rabbits, or night squids. The best way to get night squids, which do require fishing level 3, is to actually fish at the park. When it's at the park and it's raining, you don't have to use dark bait. You can use any kind of bait and you have a chance to catch night squids. If you want to catch them anywhere else at any time, you will have to use dark bait at nighttime. Whereas whenever you're over here, you can catch them without having to use dark bait. They're one of the easier bestiaries. They only require 1,000 kills, which if you've got good fishing speed, which you should because it's raining, takes about 3 to 5 hours depending on your fishing level. The higher your fishing level, the less likely you are to catch night squids because you have an additional chance to catch sea emperors, which are rolled before night squids, as well as water hydras and pretty much anything that is after night squids in the fishing level areas. So trying to get to these as early as you can is a good idea because they do give pretty good fishing XP as well. So definitely a good way to go about it. As far as baits to use, you're probably best off running just regular fish bait. It grants 45 fishing speed, which is really nice for the early game, and it's a lot more significant than just 6 sea creature chance. So I highly recommend running that. But once you get to fishing level 10, you unlock oasis rabbits and oasis sheep, which if you warp over to the desert, you can catch those here at the oasis. You'll need 300 of each, which you're probably going to max out oasis sheep way before you max out the rabbits. I literally got double the amount of oasis sheep before I got rabbits maxed. But the best strategy for this is to either fish at this bridge and let the catches go behind you. So basically barn fishing, and then you use a corrupt totem so that you and your party can all get damage on them before they die. Basically what corrupt totems do is they give all mobs in the area a lot more health. So this guy literally got triple the health. So then everybody can go down, get their damage in before all the mobs die. But if you've got a smaller party, it's not a bad idea to just fish in this little cave system down here. You can have a couple people stand on these leaves and just fish, and all the mobs will die on their own without you having to go down and kill them. They'll just get killed by the frozen blaze armor or whatever your friends are using over time. So that's probably the best way to do that. But again, it will take 300 kills. That is one of the easier B series though. Once you get to fishing level 15, you can start catching carrot kings and water worms. We'll worry about water worms in a bit, but basically for carrot kings, all you have to do is use carrot bait. Carrot bait has a chance to catch a carrot king. It just requires 1 raw fish and 1 carrot to make 1 carrot bait. And basically that's the only way to catch carrot kings. You cannot catch carrot kings unless you use carrot bait. So make sure to use that. You will need 400 total carrot kings. So definitely a big deal, but hopefully with those 400, you'll drop a couple clover cores, which are worth a decent amount right now. They go for about 4 mil, somewhere around there, depending on the market. So you'll at least make some money with those. But then we have the water worm, which is a sea creature that can be caught specifically in the goblin holdout. Now, I don't recommend going for this until you're actually fishing level 17, because then you can also catch poisoned water worms, which are caught in the exact same place. And the bait that you're going to want to use for this is worm bait. Worm bait is made with 1 piece of clay and a worm membrane to make 16 worm baits. It grants 60 fishing speed, and only worms will bite. And this is not the only bestiary that you will have in the crystal nucleus, but again, wait till you're fishing 17 so you can catch both types of worms. You either want to find a structure or just some area that has water in it, and you got to be kind of careful how you build out your section. You do want to use hardstone, but make sure you don't like dig out any dirt or anything, because the dirt will regen over time, so that can ruin your fishing. But also make sure to disable mole, because that can be a bit of a pain when you're digging out your area. All right, so you want to build your structure like this and have 1 odd block area where you can actually place your totem down. That spot probably won't do it, so we'll go with it right here. So there we go, we've got our totem, and so now we can fish, and the mobs that we catch should end up going back in this hole without any problems, just like that. And then if you're by yourself, you don't have to use frozen blaze for this, but if you've got a group, then frozen blaze is fine. Everybody gets their damage in, and you don't have any issues whatsoever. With frozen blaze, you do have to move around. You can't just stand here, or over time you will lose the damage on the gear. So you can see my fire particles are no longer around me. That means I've been AFK for too long, and so now my AoE isn't working. So you can see I caught this sea witch, but I'm not dealing any damage because my AoE isn't working. So once I start moving, the AoE starts doing damage again, and we're fine. And again, this is the build. So it's 3 blocks high, and we have a 3-block hole at the back. You can do 2 blocks, but it just makes it more annoying for sea witches and things like that. You can even go 4 blocks down if you want. Sea witches and sea archers can be really frustrating if they get caught down there and you just sit on the edge like this. So I don't recommend sitting on the edge. A lot of people will actually just dig these blocks up right here and fish right here, so that way if they get KB'd, they're not going to get knocked back into the hole, which is definitely the smarter way to do it. But again, if you are sitting in an area that's dirt like this, dirt blocks will regenerate, so that can be a little bit of a problem as well. But this is the general structure for pretty much every water or lava fishing setup that you're going to do in the Crystal Hollows. Just about 4 blocks or so, 2 by 2 of lava or water. And for this particular situation with worm baits, you do want to use worm baits to catch poison water worms and water worms. Basically, if you're going for worms, you want to use worm baits. That's the meta. Again, water worms and poison water worms will be unlocked at sea creature level 17 or fishing level 17. Your next big unlock will be flaming worms at fishing level 19. Flaming worms can only be caught in lava and the precursor remnants. So finding lava and the precursor remnants can be a little bit of a pain. That's definitely the hardest part of lava fishing, is actually just finding a spot where you can do it. And the bestiary is a bit harder to max. It's 4,000 kills compared to the water worms 1,000 and poison water worms 1,000, so it does take twice as long to max. Plus, odds are if you've got a lava fishing setup at fishing level 19, it's not going to be that good. So For these, I would honestly recommend waiting and coming back later. Once you're a higher fishing level, everything gets easier. That's kind of how it is with a lot of these bestiaries. If you want to do it at maximum speed, then your best idea is to wait until you're higher fishing level, at least for these location ones. If you want to do the event fishing, so spooky fishing, fishing festivals, and winter fishing, when those are available, I highly recommend doing that to get your fishing level up. Just do event fishing, because you can do all these others anytime, and the higher your fishing level, the easier it will be. So I recommend focusing on these, because even once you are higher level, the hardest ones to max are the lowest level sea creatures. So I've got well over the max amount of Grim Reapers, but I'm still struggling to catch Scarecrows to max this bestiary. So if you want to start working on these early when you can't even catch Grim Reapers, that is completely fine. That's actually what I recommend doing. But again, for lava worms, it is again pretty much the same as it was with water worms. You just got to find some lava in the precursor remnants, which is a lot harder to find than water in the goblin holdout. There are a couple room spawns that have lava in them. There's one that has like a orb in it where you can find lava pretty easily sometimes, but again, it is not a guaranteed spawn. And if you do go down to the magma fields, that will not count. So it has to be in the precursor remnants, aka above Y64. So if you're below Y64 in the precursor remnants, you're not actually in the precursor remnants, you're in the magma fields, and you will not catch flaming worms. So you gotta either get lucky and find one of these rooms with lava in it, or warp to the dwarven mines and warp back to the crystal nucleus and hope you get luckier in the next lobby. So one of the rooms that you can find is actually this one. This is the deep caverns room in the dwarven mines. So you can just fall down to the bottom, and right here there is the diamond section. So we are in the precursor remnants. You can see on the right side of our screen it says precursor remnants, and you can actually just use these as your lava pools. So you can build that same contraption that we did for the water pool. And for flaming worms, it is still best to use worm bait. However, you don't have to, but you will get the most fishing speed with that. So if you've got decent sea creature chance, then I do recommend doing that. But if you need sea creature chance, then using spikes bait is not a terrible idea, especially if you're struggling for money. But realistically, there's not too much excuse not to use worm bait for this. 60 fishing speed is a ton of fishing speed, and it really helps us go by way faster. It is definitely worth the price. At fishing level 20, you unlock the Lava Blaze, but you shouldn't actually fish where this guy is found until you unlock the Lava Pigman at fishing 22. Lava Blaze and Lava Pigman are found in lava in the magma fields. So the method for this one is to find an area down in the magma fields. This spot is kind of perfect. You can see when I'm standing here, I'm in precursor remnants, but if I step into the lava, I'm in the magma fields. So right here, if I step up, I don't take any heat. My heat is going down because I'm not in the magma fields, but this lava is in the magma fields. So if I try to fish here, you can see I can actually catch lava pigmen, even though I'm not in the magma fields. The lava is. So that's the only requirement, is that the lava be there. For this, you'd kind of build the same contraption as you did in the other areas. Just build around the lava and throw some spots down. This is a guaranteed spot that you can fish, by the way. So I'll go ahead and show you the coordinates of that. It is 768, 64, 788. So this is a very good spot to catch these at. Highly recommend building in this area specifically. Maxing those bestiaries does take a little bit of time, but honestly, it's not too bad, especially if you can get a party to do it. It goes by ever how many people you have in the party. It goes that many times as fast. So if you have 2 people, it's twice as fast. 3 people, it's 3 times as fast, etc. So I highly recommend getting a group for these. It is only 1,000 kills of each, but that is a significant amount if you do it by yourself. If you do it with a group, it will not take long at all. You can literally do it in like an hour if you have a full party. So I highly recommend getting a group for that one. Again, that is Lava Pigman at fishing 22, so you shouldn't fish here until you're fishing 22. Then once you get to fishing 24, you unlock the Great White Shark, which means you can catch all of the sea creatures in the Fishing Festival bestiary. So for this one, I still recommend, if you're going for bestiary, run Frozen Blaze gear. You're probably going to want to use the Megalodon pet because he does double his stats during the fishing festival, and he increases your chance to catch sharks. So very good pet to use with its recent buffs. And if you're just going for bestiary, I recommend fishing in the Spider's Den. Just go over to this area over here and throw down a totem. And if you're using Frozen Blaze, you can honestly just dive in the water here and just fish right here. You'll get a ton of bestiary because no matter where people are standing, if you're standing in this general area here, if they're over here, you'll get damage on their mobs. If they're over here, you'll get damage on their mobs. So it's a very good idea to fish in the water in Frozen Blaze during fishing festivals. And the same goes for spooky festivals as well. The max spooky festival mob, the Grim Reaper, is caught at fishing level 26, but again, you can start fishing for the other mobs before then, and you will get damage on other people's Grim Reapers if they catch them. But again, the high level mobs like Grim Reapers, Great White Sharks, etc., Yetis even, you're probably not going to get all the damage you need just by using Frozen Blaze. So if you've got a Hype or a Yeti sword to deal damage with, that is a good idea. Some people will get mad at you for using Hype and Yeti sword though, so what I generally do is I'll actually just use a Spirit Scepter, and it takes so little mana that you can just hold down right click with it if you have a decent amount of mana set up. I've got Necrotic on my Frozen Blaze, so that helps out with that. But that's the best way to get damage on other people's legendary mobs without making them angry and getting them to leave the lobby, because if they leave the lobby, that's less bestiary for you, so you don't want to tick people off. But again, that's the strategy you should use for Great White Sharks. Same strategy for the Grim Reaper and all of the spooky mobs and fishing festival mobs as well. But you also unlock the Abyssal Miner at fishing level 24. The Abyssal Miner can only be caught in the Mithril deposits, the Precursor Remnants, or the jungle. I recommend trying to find him in the jungle because the jungle has the most rooms with water spawns. It's generally the best area to go for. There are some areas that you can find as well that are like guaranteed water areas that are pretty good to go for, but half the time when you're going to the said areas, you'll find some random room that has a bunch of water in it on the edge. So that is the main requirement, as well as it not just have water, but it actually have water on the edge of the room, because if there's just water in the dirt here, you can't really build a contraption next to it to house all of your sea creatures, because the dirt regenerates and so it won't catch anything after a certain amount of time. But this right here is one of those guaranteed water spawns. So this is at 275, 75, 320. It is a little hard to build an area around this, but generally you can go back in this direction. So you dig out a couple blocks here, right here, dig down, let's say right here, and then you fish like on this block, and they should fly far enough back if you have 4 or maybe even 5 blocks above. Fortunately, these leaves do respawn sometimes, so some of these spawns, again, will be a little bit annoying. You may have to break blocks every now and then, but that is honestly the case with a lot of the guaranteed spawns. So if you find a room that has water in it that was generated and, you know, isn't a guaranteed spawn, then I recommend using that. But Abyssal Miners require 250 kills. They are a legendary sea creature, so they are pretty rare. And this was one of the ones that took me like 5 or so hours to max, even with a party. So these guys are a grind, and I do recommend, as always, get a party to grind these out with. They can drop Piscary 6 books, which are worth a little bit. They're currently 8 to 7 mil, and on the upper end of 8 mil, so almost 9 mil. So they do make a decent amount of money if you can get some good RNG with them. That is a big if, but they are very much worth it. Now, unfortunately, Jerry's workshop is not open, so I can't show you guys how to do the winter fishing. But basically, you want to go into the hot lava springs, or the hot water springs, whatever they're called. They're underneath the volcano, and that's where you want to fish for all of these guys. Still using Frozen Blaze. Nutcracker's a decent option, but still recommend Frozen Blaze. Now, with Rain Drakes, this was the one that I actually unlocked last, or maxed out last. If you end up in the same situation as me, where if you maxed everything else and you've just got Rain Drakes to go for, I do recommend just lobby hopping. I literally hopped from lobby to lobby looking to see if I could find a Rain Drake that had spawned, and if there wasn't one in that lobby, I just swapped until I got one where there was one. And thankfully now you don't have to be one of the top damagers. It used to be that you'd have to be like in the top 5 damagers, so that strategy didn't work too well, but now you only have to deal 1 damage to Rain Drakes to get the Bestiary for it. So as long as you're within 30 blocks of it when it dies, you should get the Bestiary. And for fishing in winter festivals, you should use frozen bait if you can. It is a bit on the pricey side as well, but it is worth it. It's a 35% extra chance to catch winter sea creatures, which if you do get to the point where you're just going for Rain Drakes and Yetis or things like that, whale bait is very good. Whale bait is good for catching legendary sea creatures, so if you've got all of the lower level sea creatures maxed and you just need the legendaries, I would use whale bait. But generally, you'll end up in the same scenario as me, where you need a lot more of the lower sea creatures, and you've already maxed the higher level ones because you were loot sharing them from other people. So generally, frozen bait's going to be the move. If you don't want to pay that much though, ice bait works just fine. For fishing festivals, use shark bait. This thing is the goat. Again, if you are in a scenario where you only need the higher level ones, so like sharks and tiger sharks, great white sharks and tiger sharks, then whale bait is the move. But if not, if you need nurse sharks or blue sharks still, use shark bait. Same thing for spooky bait. If you need grim reapers or phantom fishers, use whale bait. If you need anything else, use spooky bait. But again, the max winter sea creature catch is rain drake at fishing 35. Again, you can start fishing in the winter island before that, and that is what I recommend, but you won't be able to catch your own rain drakes until fishing 35. What you can catch before then is magma slugs, mugmas, lava leeches, pyroclastic worms, lava flames, and fire eels, as well as Taurus once you get to fishing 35. And those are all Crimson Isle fishing mobs, which are caught in lava. So there's not really any specific place that people use. There's a lot of them, to be honest. But if you're going for bestiary, one of the better spots to use is one of these three. So number one is this spot right here. It's just behind the fortress and between that and spawn. Just right here you can fish, and the mobs will drop down here, and then you and your party can go down and kill them all at the same time. The biggest issue with fishing is there is a fishing mob cap. So if you get to 60 sea creatures in an instance, then you can no longer catch sea creatures, even if you have a 100 sea creature chance. And this goes for the entire lobby. So if you have 60 sea creatures sitting behind you, then no one else can catch any sea creatures, so don't grief. Generally, you'll want to kill once you get to about 40 or so, maybe even sooner if there's a lot of people fishing in your lobby, especially if it's marina, then you'll probably want to kill at around 20. But if there's so many people fishing in your lobby, it's probably better just to move to a different lobby. But this is one of the spots. Another spot that people will use is back here on this side. So you just go on this block. A lot of people will sit right here and fish, but that is only if you're using Magma Lord. And again, generally with the lava fishing, you don't really need to use Frozen Blaze. You're not going to deal enough damage with Frozen Blaze to actually get loot share. So you'll usually use Thunder or Magma Lord or Lava Sea Creature, whatever your best fishing setup is. And then whenever it's time to kill, everybody either shoots down with a Spirit Scepter or a Dreadlord Sword, and then somebody goes down and kills with a Hyperion, whoever has the best magic find or looting 5 Hyperion. That's really the only thing that matters, is if you've got looting 5 on your Hyperion. But whoever's got the highest looting Hyperion should go down and kill. And there's one more spot that you can use if you are fishing with a group. There's actually a lot of spots that you can use down on this side of the aisle. So you can see any of these cliff faces you can use. A lot of people will use this one right here, and you just fish here and all the sea creatures drop down, and then you go down and kill them and then go back up. But you can use pretty much any of these cliff faces on any side of the island and they will work. Once you get to fishing level 36, you unlock the big boys. There's Flag Blasts and Thunders. So Thunders can be caught anywhere. They are extremely rare, but if you want to help with that rarity, I highly recommend, by the way, on your lava rod, get Double Hook. It helps so much. It's basically just a chance to catch double sea creatures, and if this procs on Thunder or Jawbus, it's a really, really big deal. I have had that happen numerous times. If you double hook a Jawbus, it's kind of scary, but it's double the bestiary, and it's very, very helpful. So I highly recommend using a double hook fishing speed rod if you can get your hands on one. But we should talk about Flag Blast as well. Flag Blast is one of the rarest mobs in the game. You only need 7 of them to max out the bestiary. So again, party fishing, highly recommend it, but it has a 0.1% chance to spawn. However, you can increase that chance if you actually wear a squid hat from Squid Collection. You unlock it at ink sack 20. You only need 8 ink sacks to craft it. Highly recommend it. It literally doubles your chances of catching a Flag Blast. It goes from 0.1 to 0.2%. So if you're going for Flag Blasts, definitely use that. It is needed for a quest to get the Kudra follower gear, so I don't recommend going for them until you have gotten that gear, and then you can go for maxing them out. But you don't want to get to max bestiary before you're even going for Kudra follower gear, because you'll have to come back and catch another one at some point. So definitely go for that first. After that, there is only one sea creature, and that is Lord Jawbus, which is caught at fishing level 45. Nothing too extra about this one. Generally, you probably won't have to fish for this guy, to be honest. If you have maxed all of your other bestiaries and Jawbus is your only bestiary left, you'll probably be able to max it without even fishing anymore, because you'll just look in your chat, and every now and then, if people are fishing, you'll see Lord Jawbus killed so-and-so. And so you just warp Isle and just look around for where people are teleporting to, because when they die, they'll teleport right back to wherever it was, and you can go and loot share there. But there's a decent chance that you'll annoy people by doing that, so if you want to play it nice, you can get a group together and there is a strategy that you can use to go specifically for Jobuses. So you won't have to worry about hitting sea creature cap with this method. It's specifically for catching Jobuses and Thunders, but you just teleport over here to the deep caverns, I think is what this island is. Honestly, I haven't been to the deep caverns in a little while. And you can fish up here in this section just like this guy is doing, and you can see he catches something, instantly kills it with Hyperion, catches something else, instantly kills it. And then if you catch a Jobus, you've got all of your friends here or whoever's in your party to help you kill it. Or if you're by yourself, you know, that's fine as well. And this is also the strategy if you are going for Pandora's box and you have to kill a Jobus by yourself. Then this is the strategy people will generally use, is find an area like this, hopefully a lobby where no one else is at, catch a Jobus, and then kill it yourself without dying. If you die to it, people will find it generally. But you can't teleport too far out, by the way, because if you teleport too far away, then you traveled too far from the island and it will teleport you back. So make sure not to teleport too far away. But ladies and gentlemen, that is all of the bestiaries in Fishing Bestiary. So if you enjoyed, make sure to drop a like, subscribe if you haven't already. We will be coming out with the dungeons and Kudra one soon, but I also plan to make a comprehensive guide to Kudra as well, tier 1 to tier 5. So if you want to see that, please smash the sub button. We're on our way to 10k subs, and if we get there, I will start using a texture pack. So like, subscribe, and I'll see you all in the next one. Y'all have an amazing rest of your day, and God bless.